Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Newsweek's World's Greatest Auto Disruptors Awards ceremony. Please welcome to the stage, Dev Brigade, CEO of Newsweek.
Well, good evening and welcome. Thank you for being with us to celebrate the winners of Newsweek's World's Greatest Auto Disruptors. Nearly 90 years ago, when Newsweek was first published, the best-selling automobile had an engine that provided 40 horsepower and a top speed of 65 miles per hour. Since then, innovation and disruption in the auto industry has been constant, and primarily only about the car itself. The focus for generation of engineers, designers, and marketeers was on how a car drove, what it looked like, and how much it cost, or how comfortable it was. While those things are still important, the automotive landscape has transformed. Cars aren't just modes of transportation anymore. They are entertainment systems, home offices, tech centers, and information hubs. Cars are problem solvers of the future, helping to address mobility challenges in new and exciting ways, complete with zero emissions. Innovation in the auto industry has extended into sustainability, mobility, alternative fuels, and a full embrace of a digital tomorrow. How has this happened? To successfully innovate, leaders need to be passionate, relentless, inspired, taking a vision that others may not be able to fully grasp and bend it to reality. The boldest of these innovators aren't just transforming the status quo, they are disrupting it and going audaciously forward in ways that upend the usual flow of business. We are here today to celebrate the automakers that are, in Newsweek's assessment, the world's greatest auto disruptors of 2022. The achievements of these individuals and companies are all the more impressive given that they have occurred during a period of tremendous uncertainty as the global pandemic crippled supply lines and dramatically shifted consumer shopping behaviors. Today, we are celebrating successful disruption throughout the global automotive industry. The moves our award winners have made don't just disrupt the future of automotive. They are transforming the lifestyle of drivers, riders, and owners. What was considered impossible only a few years ago has arrived as a reality. That success is worthy of our praise and applause. Visionaries see the future, decades away, and set the tone for the companies. Designers and engineers have to bring products of the future to the people of today. Marketeers are tasked with capturing new audiences in an increasingly competitive landscape by creating campaigns across digital channels. And today, we honor them all. And with that, I turn the microphone over to Jesse Edwards, Director of Radio and Podcasting here at Newsweek, and our event's MC, to announce the winners.
And now we begin our awards presentation. Disruptor executives are making decisions that work to transform the auto industry with big, bold actions. Newsweek's 2022 World's Greatest Auto Disruptors Executive of the Year is Ford Motor Company President and CEO, Jim Farley. Accepting the award on Mr. Farley's behalf is Mark Truby, Chief Communications Officer for Ford Motor Company. Since Ford CEO Jim Farley could not be here in person tonight, he sent this video message.
Hi, everyone. Thank you to Newsweek for the honor of naming me the Auto Disruptor of the Year. I'm proud to accept on behalf of all my colleagues at Ford. It's been a transformational year for Ford and for a whole industry. We're at a crossroads. Between the electric and the digital revolutions, the auto industry will go through more change in the next 5 to 10 years than over the last 75. At Ford, we believe this gives us the greatest opportunity to create value for our businesses and our customers since Henry Ford scaled the Model T. But to meet that opportunity, we need to change how we operate. And that's why we're creating distinct internal combustion and battery electric businesses within our own company. Ford Blue and Ford Model E. It will give us startup speed and unbridled innovation together with the industrial might of the company, our know-how, the volume scaling, our iconic brands that startups can only dream about. We'll scale our EV business even faster too. We don't want to just be part of the electric and digital revolutions. Our goal is to lead them. We're not going to cede that future to anyone. This new era of digital and electric vehicles involves talent, expertise, managing our business in a completely different way than we ever have in the past. The winners will be those companies that embrace these changes and have the courage to disrupt themselves. That's what we're doing at Ford by creating Ford Blue and Model E, by electrifying our iconic nameplates like the Mustang with the Mach-E, the F-150 with the Lightning, and our E-Transit, and by building the most advanced and scalable manufacturing plants in our history. Ford's mission has always been to help build a better world where every person in it is free to pursue their dreams. In this time of profound change, we're here to compete, and we're here to win.
In the digital age, car designers aren't just tasked with making autos that are fresh. They're challenged by continually evolving technology, sustainability promises, and a push for quicker cadences. Newsweek's 2022 World's Greatest Auto Disruptors Designer of the Year is Alfonso Albasa, Nissan Motor Company's Senior Vice President of Global Design.
Well, thanks, everyone. It's an amazing honor. To be honest, at first, I thought it was more of an accusation than and an award, so I was preparing a speech of explanation and some kind of stuff, because it's not the first time I have this accusation. But on behalf of my team, I have around 700 designers in 5 studios, and so lucky that even in the best of times, it's extremely difficult to make a car. That we are thinking about 3 or 4 years in advance. We're trying to get into the heads of people in advance of where their head is going to be. And we're trying to imagine how they're going to live and how they're going to, have their joy and their memories. At the same time, as designers, we kind of have a selfish vein where we have a vision and we have something that we want to say and express with our art. And so this kind of conflict is always going on. And, at Nissan, we have had some issues like every car companies. We have our own specific ones. And out of difficulty, sometimes magic happens. And I think because today I have Senior Vice President Mike Colleran and our Chief Marketing Officer, Allison. Functions at big companies used to have divisions. And something happened that where the lines that divide us were not as strong at the energy that we created together. And in many ways, for me, this award for all of us is a reflection of team. And so I really appreciate they also joining me tonight. Thank you so much. And so thank you. Thanks, Newsweek. I'm going to Midtown. I'm getting a tattoo. Disruptor. I'm not sure where. So please, any suggestions?
You need to license that, not the guy to have it.
Okay, thank you. All right. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Disrupting the tried and true marketing cycle of print and television advertisements, social media campaigns, connecting with influencers, and sponsorships is a challenge. Pushing the limits is what the winner of this category did. Newsweek's 2022 World's Greatest Auto Disruptors Marketing Campaign of the Year award goes to Land Rover. Newsweek is accepting this award on their behalf. And now we present a message from Land Rover.
The Land Rover marketing team members are so humbled to be awarded this prestigious honor. The Defender Above and Beyond Service Awards illustrates the power of how a small marketing program can make a large impact for not only the brand, but also for the nonprofit organizations which are the heart of this campaign. The 7 winning organizations, which categories range from search and rescue to animal welfare, have given back so much to their communities, and in many cases with minimal funding and unreliable transportation. The team at Land Rover are so humbled by the incredible work and the countless hours their volunteers provide in making a difference. We have come to know these groups and their members very well over the last few months, and encourage you to learn more about how their new defenders will assist them with their missions of service. Please visit LandRoverUSA.com/Defender Above and Beyond Service Awards to learn more. Again, thank you very much for your recognition of this special marketing campaign.
The democratization of faster charging speeds disrupts the automotive industry, removing many of the charging time and vehicle cost obstacles that potential EV buyers cite as stumbling blocks to adoption. Newsweek's 2022 World's Greatest Auto Disruptors Powertrain of the Year award goes to Hyundai Motor Group. Accepting the award is John Robb, president of Hyundai America Technical Center. Creating a platform that not only ushers in the company's electrified vehicle future for 3 brands, but does so in ways that allow for a variety of interior layouts and exterior looks without sacrificing power, speed, comfort, safety, and style, is why Newsweek's 2022 World's Greatest Auto Disruptors Research and Development Team of the Year award goes to Hyundai Motor Group. Accepting the award is John Robb, president of Hyundai America Technical Center. Being an automotive industry visionary means trying the present wants and needs of customers to predicted behavior, technology, manufacturing, fuels, and design trends decades in the future. The moves to make that future a success are happening today. Newsweek's 2022 World's Greatest Auto Disruptors Visionary of the Year award goes to Hyundai Motor Group executive Isun Chung.
John, why you didn't say anything? Do you want to join? All right. Wow. What a such an honor, and I really appreciate to Mr. Pragat, and thank you for the kind introduction. I would also like to congratulate Jim Farley, Alfonso Albaiza, and the Land Rover team on their words. It's an honor to be recognized alongside two of the best minds in the industry. So on behalf of everyone at Hyundai Motor Group, I'd like to thank Newsweek for recognizing me and the group with these 3 awards. All the people at Hyundai and our business partners are working hard to transform the group into a smart mobility solutions provider. This award is proof of their dedication to make disruptive technologies available to all our consumers. That's why I'm so honored to accept it on their behalf. It's great to be in New York, always. You will be able to see Hyundai and Kia at the auto show starting tomorrow. At Genesis House, you can experience Korea's very unique culture and cuisine in the heart of the Big Apple. I welcome all of you to dine at the restaurant. Right now, it's pretty hard to get a reservation, so you may need to know someone. Just tell them I invited you, okay? All right, thank you. Thank you. The last 2 years have been challenging for everyone, but we learn most when we are tested, when we are uncomfortable and even scared. It's the visionaries, the dreamers, and even the rebels that understand this concept the best. This visionary ethos is the thread that connects our past, present, and future. Tonight, I may be the one accepting this award, but I'm not alone on this stage. More than 7 years ago, it was my grandfather Ju Young-chung's vision that created Hyundai Motor Company. In a war-torn country, he built cars and highways, dreaming of a Korea where people moved freely. And my father, Honorary Chairman Mong-gu Chung, had a vision to make safe and reliable cars available to more people around the world. Today, their visions, their efforts, and their hopes rest with me. And I have a great team who have been instrumental in showcasing who Hyundai is, and most of all, who we are going to be. I have always believed cars were a way to connect people. There's nothing more human than the insatiable desire to explore, to imagine, and progress. Mobility quite internally brings people together. And when we come together, human beings are capable of extraordinary things. That's why Hyundai Motor Group is evolving the way we move. Whether it's our partnership with Boston Dynamics in robotics, advanced air mobility, or the future of hydrogen-powered transportation, we are determined to revolutionize the way the world moves. At Hyundai, we are creating a new world of mobility, where people can come together safely and sustainably in cities, desert, or on rugged mountain terrain. Soon, we will meet our customers in the sky and maybe even beyond. there are no limits to where we will go to provide the best mobility solutions now and in the future. Hyundai Motor Group is committed to making this vision a reality that will benefit all humanity. The result, more time and more space for everyone to do what truly drives them. Of course, Hyundai Motor Group cannot achieve this alone. I hope that our vision inspires the imagination of talented people all over the world, and that they will join us in solving the greatest challenges facing humanity. I consider this Visionary of the Year award not just an honor, but a challenge. By honoring us with this award, you have given us a moment of reflect on our successes, but have also invited us to dream bigger, to do more, and be more than we ever imagined. Well, I accept the challenge. You have my commitment that Hyundai Motor Group will always bring disruptive innovations that are human-centered and eco-friendly and provide the world's most creative and smart mobility solution that help us live in harmony with nature. On behalf of myself and the entire Hyundai Motor Group family, thank you very much for this honor. We will continue to challenge convention, democratize technology, and bring excitement to everything we do. Thank you very much.
This concludes our award ceremony. We'll now take a brief pause while we transform the stage for our featured panel discussion. If you could please turn your attention back to the stage, please welcome our Digesting Disruptors, How Automaker Decisions Impact Customers panel, featuring Ed Kim, President and Chief Analyst at Auto Pacific, Stephanie Brinley, Principal Analyst at S&P Global Mobility, Tyson Jominy, Vice President of Data and Analytics at J.D. Power, Eileen Falkenberg-Hull, Senior Editor of Autos at Newsweek, and co-host of the new Fast Women podcast, and Nicole Wakelin, veteran auto industry journalist and co-host of the Fast Women podcast.
Good evening and welcome to Newsweek's New York City headquarters. As the announcer said, I'm Eileen Falkenberg-Hull, the senior editor of Autos. Let's jump right in.
Yes, okay. Let's get started. For the first question, Ed, it's you. What are customers buying right now? What's hot?
All right, well, first of all, thanks for having me here. This is truly an honor. All right, so to answer your question, well, I guess in some ways this answer sounds a little bit simplistic, but you can't talk about what people are buying without saying the word SUV. This has been the case for many years. They've been growing by leaps and bounds over the last couple of decades, but especially over the last few years where technology, and in many cases disruptive technology, has really been allowing people to drive these SUVs. Say 10, 15, 20 years ago, people wanted SUVs too, but they were many people were dissuaded by the fact that they mostly had very bad fuel economy, they cost a lot to run, but because of disruptive technologies, whether it's through electrification or small displacement and turbocharging, that has allowed the fuel economy of these vehicles to get immeasurably better, and that is one of the primary reasons why they've become the most popular vehicles in the U.S. market, and hugely popular across the globe as well. Through our research at Auto Pacific, we've found that consumer love for SUVs is so strong that even in the wake of these rapidly rising fuel prices that we've been seeing, people still don't want to give up their SUVs. And in fact, what they're more willing to do is look at more technology disruptions to allow them to continue driving these SUVs, even as gasoline approaches $6 a gallon in some parts of the country. We did a survey recently that showed that 30% of SUV owners would be willing to consider a fully electric SUV so that they continue driving an SUV if fuel prices were the same high fuel prices what they're paying now. So really, SUVs are what people are buying, and consumers are continuing to look to disruptive technologies to allow them to keep doing that.
Fantastic. Tyson, it's been no secret that the industry has faced disruption from the pandemic and shortages of materials. How has consumer behavior changed in the light of not as many vehicles available on the lots?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say, thank you for inviting me to this panel of Avengers of auto data nerds. I think I'm the Hawkeye of the group, so I don't know what his skill is exactly. But certainly one thing we've been seeing in the pandemic is that consumers have really been changing the way that they've been buying, and in particular, there's a lot fewer leases going on out there right now, right? If any of you have gone back to the market recently and looked for a lease, you're going to find that your monthly payment has gone up $150 or $200 or so. So what is everyone going to do about this, right? And thankfully, here today we already honored two of, I think, the automakers that have the biggest appetite for disruption. Ford and Hyundai have both responded. Yeah, thank you. That's right. Ford and Hyundai have both responded to this new environment. And these have been some of the automakers that are offering these balloon-type payments at the end of finance contracts that basically mimic a lease. So even though leasing has gone down, we're seeing a number of innovations going on in the market with automakers like Ford and Hyundai and addressing the needs of consumers in the market today. So that's certainly one of the biggest changes. I don't know, does that answer the question?
I think you're close.
Okay, good.
Close, thank you.
So Stephanie, we have one for you. So the last 2 years have been pretty tumultuous, to say the least. How are automakers adapting to this sort of new environment we're in, and which disruptive behaviors have the most successful brands displayed during this time?
I think that Tyson and Ed both hit on something, that there's been a lot of change, but still there's a lot of things that were in place before. When we look at how people are buying cars and being online more, moving that process away from being in the dealership and having to discuss your finances with F&I guy who's going to go back and forth, being able to take some of the pain out of those processes, all of that was happening before the pandemic. It was starting before that. We certainly accelerated that with that. SUVs have been popular, as Ed said, for years. And I think that one of the reasons that we see people saying, okay, if fuel prices go up, I'll consider an electric SUV, is also because they're hearing electric SUVs are coming. And electric cars need to be in a package that fits in someone's lifestyle. So what we're seeing is, prior to the pandemic and prior to all of these situations, these vehicles were in development. They're coming. And we're seeing that I don't think that consumers have changed fundamentally what they want. And what we've seen is an opportunity for the automakers to move forward a little bit more quickly. And you've got basically a lot of those Nissan is doing a lot, you've got GM doing a lot. It's not so much taking a shift going direct to consumer as it is to figuring out a way to integrate the dealership process and make it much more smooth for consumers. And I think that's a lot of what we've seen in the last couple of years.
So Tyson, Stephanie touched on the fact that dealers are having to adapt, not just because of the pandemic, but because of the acceleration in the, internet revolution of buying, which sounds very dated. So Tyson, what are dealers doing to achieve the success that they're having with the new buying processes, with the challenges that they're facing?
One of the things that dealers have been doing really great during this time is helping consumers, find the vehicle that they're looking for. Traditionally in the auto industry, our messaging has been about the deal, right? How many commercials do you see where it's about the deal? Well, we've really transitioned during this time, and particularly the retailers have really started to focus on helping connect consumers with the vehicle that they're looking for, because that's really the struggle, right? At J.D. Power, what we found is that in the past, consumers who traveled the furthest for a vehicle paid the least. Well, since COVID and really since the supply chain crisis, that's inverted. Consumers who travel the furthest to find a vehicle pay the most of anyone. And the reason that they're doing so is because they're traveling to find the vehicle that they want. And those dealers are able to connect those consumers with that exact vehicle.
So Ed, you told us what people are buying today, right now, and the answer is SUVs. But what kind of vehicles are customers going to be buying in the future?
Well, I think that a lot of that has to do with many of the people here. And what I mean by that is, in a lot of ways, consumers don't really know what they want until they're presented with some really innovative new idea that speaks to them in a way that they didn't know would speak to them. I mean, really, in the end, that's what disruption is really all about. It is providing the consumer with something that they didn't know that they wanted or needed. In the future, in the near future, of course, we're going to see, continuing demand for electrified powertrains. We're going to be seeing continued demand for greater and better implementations of driver assist technologies and ultimately autonomous drive technologies. But these are things that, that already exist in some form right now. In some ways, I don't know that they're totally disruptive yet because, they're not. I don't know that they're disruptive yet because they aren't truly mainstream yet, and a lot of people haven't yet figured out that they want that stuff. But in any case, I think that we'll be seeing continued implementation of those things, and we'll continue to see demand for SUV-type vehicles that have a higher seating position, easy to get in and out of, and all these technologies, like I said earlier, are going to continue to enable people to keep driving them in the future.
All right, so we know what vehicles are coming that will be disruptive. Stephanie, what brands are going to be disruptive in the coming years?
It's going to be interesting to watch this whole process, and I'm going to say that I'm not going to tell you which brand, but what we're talking about here is the difference between being a disruptor and an innovator and moving to this next page is going to be how it's executed. So we all know that vehicles are going to be connected. We all know you're going to be able to buy everything on your car, and ultimately you'll be able to decide which month you want heated seats turned on and which month you don't. All of these things are things that are being talked about: autonomous cars, electric cars, all of it's in the ether there, and it's all being worked on, and there's billions going into this research. So who actually disrupts and takes that idea from this innovation, this interesting stage, into something disrupts how you interact with your vehicle is going to come down to the execution of it. And probably the people who will do it best are the people who have been invested in it longer. So you look at Hyundai is certainly putting a lot of money into there. GM has a good place with OnStar and with electric history too. Ford is coming along really quickly on that and putting a lot of money into it. VW is certainly developing and pushing on their own software as a service element, and also the self-driving that they're working on with Ford and on their own. So we do have these players coming in and board on that, and I think that it's going to be one of them, I think, more likely than actually the startups, honestly, because the traditionals are kind of off the fence now. They're like, wait a second, we better show up. And they have the resources to do it. Things that, like what Jim Farley has done with the Ford organization, will help organizations do that. And you're going to see other organizations adapt to something like that in their own way, and which fits with that organization's DNA to be able to move forward. It's going to be about the execution. That's going to be the difference for the disruption.
Okay, we've had some questions that we've asked you guys, but does anybody in the audience have any questions? I think we have some over that direction.
Yep.
Sure, thanks guys. A question for you. One of the things we've never been able, and sorry, my name is Nick Miles, and I do Fox Sports. I have a question for you, and I sort of feel a little bit like you've been dancing around this, and I want you guys to really answer this question and call out some brands. One of the things that I know that we've never been able to control as automotive people is time. It's the one thing that if you get timing wrong, you get everything wrong. So automakers, if automakers get timing wrong, they're completely wrong. So when we get the mix of ICE engines and electric vehicles incorrect, if you're too slow on bringing electric vehicles to market, you fall behind and people ignore you. But if you bring too many electric vehicles and then your push towards electric vehicles is too fast and your mix is too high, people aren't quite ready to buy. We know interest is high, we see that in our search, so many people looking at electrics, but I think, Ed, well, we've had you on the radio show before, and you talk about the search index is high, but the buying is about 5 to 6% this year. So who's getting the mix right, and who, I don't want to talk about getting it wrong, but where is the mix right? Who has electrics right now versus ICE engines?
Anybody who has an SUV electric. That's a short answer. But I want to point out something else too. When we talk about, because we do, all three of us get this question a lot, who's in the lead, who's going to get ahead, who's going to fall behind, who matters in 5 years? Let me tell you, this EV revolution or this EV transition, we're talking 20 years, we're talking 30 years. We are not talking about we can look at who's ahead right now, but it's not going to matter in 2035 because there's plenty of time to develop. And if we make this transition as heavily as the combination of government and society is pushing for it, if we do that, then they're all going to be there. And at some point, it's going to, again, execution is one of my favorite things to talk about. It's going to come down to execution, and it's going to come down on how you deliver. It's not, at the end of the day, going to be on who's first.
I want to add to that by saying, there is time for automakers to get their electric vehicle lineups in order. There's a big challenge here because at this time right now, according to our own research, 89% of consumers out there do not plan to buy an EV as their next vehicle. So, basically 11% of people probable shoppers are saying, yeah, I want an EV next time, but that's 89% that don't want to do that quite yet. I think that's going to change over time as more and more EVs come into the marketplace. But right now, I think I think it's not a terrible thing for many of the legacy automakers out there to remain somewhat conservative with the transition to electrification because, while the interest and awareness is certainly growing, the ultimate demand at this point in time is still fairly modest, and every automaker out there is going to have to balance their ICE lineups versus their electric lineups in a way that will be sustainable for them and make for a smooth transition going down the road.
And I think by the time we get to the world's greatest auto disruptors 2 next year, I think we're going to have a completely different story to talk about because by then we're going to have multiple pickup EVs in the marketplace. And I think then we'll really start to understand the demand levels for EVs. Once we added the SUVs, we added Mach-E and ID4 and Model Y. We saw EV share double almost right away. And of course, it's almost doubling again this year as more SUVs like Kia's EV6 are in market and others. And so I think once we get the pickups, though, we're really going to start to understand who has the right mix there.
We will, and we still are building out the infrastructure to support it, and there's still a lot of change. Again, I still go back to the fact that it's a marathon, but the pickup thing is hugely important because it's such an American vehicle, and it's so important to our market. And I gotta say, for being a Hawkeye, you really keep trying to channel Tony Stark here.
If I could just say one last thing here on this topic, we're all really excited about all this product that's on the way, but what has to be addressed just as much, if not more, is the infrastructure. We still have a massive shortage of infrastructure to support all of these EVs that are supposed to be coming, and it's not just public charging infrastructure out in the world. It's even home infrastructure. The latest U.S. Census data shows that 35% of households in the U.S. do not own a detached single-family home. Those are all people that can't charge at the house. There need to be more and bigger conversations about the infrastructure to support all this product that's coming down the line.
Great. Any more questions from the audience?
Yes, thank you for taking my question, Michael McKibben. What automaker's disruptive technology or service stands out in your mind that best meets the needs of consumers today?
Oh, he got you. We're all quiet.
Look at that.
You're sitting back there. And the hesitation and the difficulty, I think, for myself on that is that consumers' needs are so varied. So it's difficult to find the one thing that has done that, especially in the last 2 years. I mean, as long as we've talked about sort of attitudinal change. We've talked about all the things that we've had to go through, but we still have dealerships and we still have cars that like aren't there. So probably it's automakers are, like to Tyson's point, that are getting the vehicles to the people who can get them and who want them. And also I sort of tying on to the disruption idea and the conversation about what's changing and what's happening, I think it's important to realize too that we have a number of people who aren't buying. You know, our market isn't where it's supposed to be. It's not where it naturally would be. So when those buyers come back and can get back to what they want, we might see things evolve a little bit more differently as we did after the recession.
I mean, what about Super Cruise? That's what I thought of, was Super Cruise. I mean, what a amazing innovation there, and how disruptive is that from GM in advancing, you know, advanced driving assist?
Yeah, I think that Super Cruise and other similar semi-autonomous drive systems are also very, very neat. And in a lot of environments, especially like out here, it can be a real a super convenience that can truly make your life easier. One additional thing that I wanted to mention was also in terms of disruption, was perhaps not in terms of actual product, but in retailing. I think, you know, certainly the way that automobiles are retailed in this market, you know, it's the way things have been done for a very, very long time for the most part. Franchise dealerships and, you know, all the things that entails. You know, one of the things that Tesla has done over, you know, over the past decade is basically doing a retail network that's direct from the factory and doesn't entail traditional dealerships. Now, I know that's not possible for, you know, for many, many other automakers to do because of franchise laws and things like that. But I think that what Tesla has done certainly is shown many consumers that there is a different way to do automotive retailing. And for many consumers, that really does work. And I think there are big rewards to be had for other automakers that do develop their own innovations in retailing, perhaps that do involve the traditional dealer network.
And that's a good point, because Tesla's disruption has not just been in getting consumers to think about seeing things a little differently, but it's also forced automakers to rethink how they work with their dealerships, how this process comes through. You've got GM coming up with a program so that their dealers can see what's coming off the production line a lot more quickly. Like we said, we've got ability for consumers to get into inventory more quickly, and changing the discussion around this. And that'll continue to happen, but the disruption point was Tesla really kind of pushing the direct-to-sales model. And the Super Cruise thing is also particularly important too. And I go back to execution. I give the nod to GM because at this particular point, not only is the system incredibly good, but it was developed very carefully. It was developed step by step in a way that completely incorporated consumer feedback, and it was gated enough so that it was super safe. And I think that it's paying off for them. It's paying off for the consumers that have it.
In a way that Tesla's full self-driving or autopilot absolutely does not.
What do you mean? I summoned a Model 3 this morning. It came all the way from Chicago, picked me up at my hotel, and drove me down here.
That's how you got here so quick.
Here?
Well, as you guys are talking about Tesla, you bring up something interesting because they've really helped raise the profile of electric vehicles considerably, and that's what a lot of consumers think of first when they think of an EV. But you also mentioned that only 11% of people are considering buying an EV as their next vehicle, even though they know they're out there. How do you get people to buy into those future plans and to say, yeah, I'm going to make that move to an electric?
I think it comes to the amount of choice that we're seeing. Toyota's BZ4X is part of that solution. Chevrolet's Bolt EV is part of that solution. Mustang Mach-E is part of that solution. We're going to have a lot of choice, and getting down to what people want is going to be the difference. Tesla proved that if you made an appealing, exciting electric vehicle, people would buy it, but it wasn't the package that every person wants. So now you have to get to the space where really the person is just going, I want to get my kid to school today. Beyond that, I don't care a whole lot. It's nice if it's cheap, it's nice if it's green, but these are all nice to haves. I'm pretty basic about it. And giving them the vehicle that fits in their driveway makes all the difference. But Tesla started it, and it's going to be the choice. It's going to be the pickup trucks. It's going to be the utilities. It's going to be the different price classes, and it's going to be the different price sizes or different sizes that we're seeing.
Yeah, in fact, our data completely supports that notion in the sense that the more nameplates, the more EV nameplates are out in the marketplace, the more awareness there is, and then consequently, the greater consumer demand for EVs are. So, certainly, 10 years ago, when all you really had in the market was a Leaf and a couple of other small, not that exciting small 5-door economy hatchbacks, demand wasn't very high. But now we're faced with now the market has a lot more choice, a lot more variety. There are a lot of vehicles out there that are a lot of EVs that are out there that are just cool regardless of what kind of powertrain it has. And that's actually a real important point. If you make a car desirable, people are going to want it, whether it's electric or ICE. Certainly, I think the Tesla, the various Tesla models had that it factor to some degree. Perhaps the Volkswagen ID Buzz, I can see that potentially, having a great emotional appeal that will make it a desirable vehicle regardless of what kind of powertrain it has. Obviously, it's all electric. I think that's certainly going to help the cause of EVs in general. So yeah, as more EV nameplates come into the marketplace and the more appealing EV nameplates come into the marketplace, that's gonna grow demand significantly.
And $5 gasoline doesn't hurt.
True.
And on that note, we will sign off for this evening. Thank you to our panelists, to our audience, for everybody who attending, and we will see you all down the road.